and tyranny in government. And many of us, are coming to the conclusion that you best represent that corruption and tyranny. There are millions, 40 to 70 million Americans out there on the other side of the Alleghenies, and there is intelligent life west of the Alleghenies, sir. And I believe that you have to talk to those people out there. You're wasting precious time.
Well, I'm not going to interrupt you in any of your responses.
I'm not going to go on preaching, sir. Go ahead.
But I am going to note you're interrupting me when I started to say to you that we will get back to your statement about copyright and about Jews. We'll get back to that. But what I want to come back to at this moment is your statement about retribution and violence and apparent justification for it.
Yes,
Now, wait a minute. I'm not going to let you interrupt me again. What I want to come to, and I want to have a full discussion with you, Mr. Olson, because I want your ideas fully exposed.
There are other people on this panel, sir, that...
Well, I know, but I'm the chairman, and they'll have a chance to speak. And I'm not going to interrupt you at all whenever you start to reply. And what I want to do is I want to hear all your ideas, because I want your ideas compared to mine. And I want to let the American public judge whether you're right or I'm right. And when you talk about Ireland and you talk about South Africa and you talk about Oklahoma City, we're going to give you every opportunity to say everything you have in mind. And then I'm going to say a few things, and we're going to let the public judge. And I don't take lightly your comment to me that I represent corruption. I don't take that lightly at all.
Well, let me say it again.
And I want you to prove it if you're going to say that. And now the floor is yours.
I appreciate that, and I would like to correct Carl Levin also. He made some allegations and some statements that were absolutely fallacious. They are not true, and I believe that anyone who has the record of Carl Levin's statements earlier would like to talk to us. We would like to correct those for the record.
Proceed.
There are many statements concerning the Fowlerville people. The Fowlerville people were not part of the Michigan Militia Corps. Just about every fact that he brought forth, he did not name places or times or dates or the context of those investigations. He, together with many of these people seated and also the press before us, these people and you have tried to paint us in a different light. Following the Oklahoma City bombing, Louis Freeh, on the 27th of April, came out and said that the Michigan Militia Corps had nothing to do with the bombing in Oklahoma City. However, the press did not pick up on that. When you talk about, or when the senators talk about, or Carl Levin talks about how terrible it would be to even consider that the federal government had anything to do with killing Americans, I submit to you, sir, that the Central Intelligence Agency has been in the business of killing Americans and killing people in the United States and around the world since 1946. I submit to you, sir, that the Central Intelligence Agency is probably the grandest conspirator behind all of this government, and I submit to you, sir, that perhaps the puppeteer strings of the Central Intelligence Agency reach even into the senators, perhaps before us and perhaps also in the Senate of the United States of America.
Well, as long as you say perhaps, Mr. Olson. Senator Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to read to you, Mr. Olson, a fax that you sent out on April 28th to the American people, and it said this: "The wrath of the country has been directed toward the brave men and women of the Michigan Militia. Now, here's the truth. On April 19th, 1995, a day that will live in infamy, the government of Japan, in retaliation for the United States gas attack on the subway in Japan, blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City." That's a fax from you to the American people on April 28, 1995. Would you care to comment on it?
I have a 40-page document that I have prepared, a transcript of an audio tape that is available to the press. We encourage the press to see me at the press conference this afternoon at 3 o'clock in the White Room on the 13th floor of the National Press Club building, and I will be happy to provide you with 40 pages of transcript. Do your own investigation.
Well, are you standing by that fax?
I'm saying that bits and pieces of information are conveyed and brought to the attention of the Michigan Militia Corps. We have established safe houses. We have established places of protection where people inside the agencies can come to us with information concerning corruption. And when they do, we take... Sir, let me follow.
You haven't said it yet.
I'll be very brief. When they bring facts to us, we hand it over to the media to investigate. We do not have the resources or the wherewithal to investigate all of these facts.
You haven't responded. I said to you, we responded to the facts that you sent out on April 28th. It says, on April 19th, a day that will live in infamy, the government of Japan, in retaliation for the United States gas attack on the subway in Japan, blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City.
And I reply to you, sir, that if we wait and the investigation is done, I believe that we will find collusion between governments in the involvement in the Oklahoma City bombing, if we will wait and allow the investigations to be conducted.
All right. Mr. Fletcher, as I mentioned in my statement, the militia of Montana claims that there are, quote, lesbians, sex perverts, child molester advocates, Christian haters, and the most doctrinaire of communists heading the FBI and the IRS. Now, Mr. Fletcher, with respect to the IRS, I have no quarrel with you.
So be it, sir.
But my friend Louis Freeh is a different matter. So I would like to ask you, are you suggesting that he's a lesbian or a sex pervert, a child molester advocate, or a Christian hater, or a communist?
Well, first off, that's not my quote, so that for the record we clear that. And I think that comes out of a singular book that we carry, the same as the library carries, and that's the extent of that. Now, those people that live inside the Beltway have to select their own friends and figure out what their sexual status is, and there's a huge variety at the highest levels of this government in that direction. What I would like to point out, though, that you bring up Mr. Freeh, and an interesting thing has taken place. Actually, almost a year ago, July the 2nd, Mr. Freeh was in Poland, and he made a Nazi-related speech, and it was a memorial to the Jewish camps and the Holocaustic action that took place there. And he said an interesting statement. He said that what happened 50 years ago is not just a history as much as it is a warning. And Mr. Freeh said that, in fact, at any time that any nation of the world starts to utilize local police with their federal enforcement and starts to federally arm the police at a local level, as Adolf Hitler did as he slowly came in and did his outrageous acts back in 1940 and 38, he said that anytime we see this, it's an immediate red flag that that nation is probably moving into a dictatorship. Well, within a single year, we start, supplying local police agencies with armored personnel carriers. This, by the way, is just the Sheriff's Department. Those are not military. This is the Sheriff's Department in Everett, Washington. These armored personnel vehicles are being supplied by federal enforcing agents to a whole variety of local police agencies. This is exactly part of what Mr. Freeh was telling the folks in Poland and the rest of the world to be aware of as a sign of moving into dictatorship. This is only one small part of that, sir. This is what I would refer to as a terrorist. These are FBI enforcing agents dressed in their black outfits. This, sir, is an ATF agent in its black outfits. This used to be a terrorist. If an American saw this character going down the street, any American, 10, 15 years ago, they would have shot this sucker because this is a picture of a terrorist. This is now the ATF agents. We have questions relative to going beyond Mr. Freeh's point of hundreds of flat cars of United Nations Russian equipment all over the United States. We have questions as to why the United States Army, with this document I have here, has put together the regulations to create civilian inmate labor prison camps inside military bases.